The man limped toward the zombies, betting they wouldn't attack him due to the rotting scent of his wounds. As he expected, the zombies mistook Morgan for one of their own, and he passed through them without issue as long as he kept quiet. After the first wave of zombies had passed, Morgan stopped in his tracks. The gunshot wound in his chest made him unable to hold on and he fell to the ground. But Morgan, hardened by trials, wasn't going to be stopped by mere pain. He struggled to his feet, but the pain he felt as he struggled to get up caused him to scream, which immediately attracted a zombie to come close to him. Just as the zombie was about to bite Morgan, a gunshot rang out. Isaac had shot the last bullet, saving Morgan. Morgan forced himself up. Isaac told him, "I'll draw the zombies away. You go inside." Morgan glanced at the nearby entrance, but like always, he wouldn't let a teammate be in danger. Making noise, he drew the zombies toward himself. Soon, the zombies turned toward Morgan. Prepared for battle, Morgan decided it was better to fight than to hide. Isaac understood his intent and joined the fight. Despite his injury, Morgan's prowess with a stick remained formidable. Simple thrusts and jabs were enough to fend off the zombies. His wound ached, but he endured. After half an hour of fighting, they had cleared the area of zombies. Isaac led Morgan to the entrance, crossing into the secluded sanctuary. It seemed an ideal place for survivors to live. Isaac quickly made his way to the house. Thankfully his wife was okay. And of course he introduced Morgan to Rachel. Isaac learned about Rachel's symptoms, and now that he had oxygen he could deliver her at any time. That night, they talked outside. Isaac shared how he found this place while fishing with his grandfather. The dam served as a protective barrier. The area had water and fertile soil. "Morgan, you could rebuild here," he suggested, but Morgan continued to refuse, blaming himself for his team's past misfortunes. Suddenly, they heard noises outside, likely Emil finding the place. Morgan instructed them to stay inside, as Emil was only after him, but Isaac insisted. "You saved my family. I can't let you face death alone," Morgan urged. "Keep your promise. Find my people. Bring them here. Take care of your family." Morgan stepped outside alone. Sure enough, Emil had found the place, facing his possible end. Morgan said, "I'm no match for you now, and I know Virginia sent you. I won't resist. Just spare the people here." Emil agreed. Morgan dropped his weapon, knelt, and raised his hands in surrender, waiting for Emil to take his head. He closed his eyes, but then fighting sounds erupted. Isaac had been thrown to the ground by Emil. As Emil prepared to kill Isaac, Morgan couldn't just watch. What followed was a masterful display of stick fighting from Morgan. Even injured, Morgan was a formidable opponent for Emil. In Rick's group, Morgan's combat skills were unparalleled, even with cold weapons. But the intense fight was too much for Morgan, draining his strength. "You can't die, Morgan. This place needs you to complete its construction. I can't take care of your people for you," Isaac said. He then lifted his shirt to reveal a zombie bite on his waist. Morgan felt a wave of sadness. "I was bitten the first time I came back. Before I went looking for the guns. It doesn't matter if I return or not. The important thing was bringing you back. Saying I'd take a detour was just a lie," Isaac confessed. As they spoke, Emil charged and knocked Isaac to the ground again. Knowing Morgan's skill, Emil became cautious, exerting full force with each axe swing. Despite his caution, Morgan's stick hit Emil in the abdomen. In the midst of attacking, Emil pressed on Morgan's wound, causing him excruciating pain and leaving him powerless. Emil turned to grab his axe. Morgan, remembering the stranger's note left for him, knew he couldn't give up. As Emil swung the axe down, Morgan, with one hand, blocked the attack with his stick, surprising even Emil. Emil increased his strength, and Morgan resisted fiercely despite his injury. Eventually, the axe slid down the stick and fell aside. Morgan's stick broke again, but it didn't stop him from retaliating. He knew he had to make a change. The stick piercing through Emil marked the beginning of Morgan's transformation. Then, picking up the axe, Morgan faced Emil. Emil, sure Morgan couldn't bring himself to kill, underestimated him, but he was wrong. Exhausted, Morgan went to the steps and told Isaac, "I've figured out that I'm going to keep them alive. You should see your wife. I'll rest here for a while." The next day, Morgan woke up to the dog licking his face. His wound had been treated, and the bullet removed. Sitting inside was Isaac's wife, Rachel, with a newborn. Morgan looked at the newborn and asked if she was a boy or a girl. He's a big fan of children. Rachel answered, "It's a girl. I named her Morgan." Morgan can't believe it. Rachel explained it was Isaac's idea. When Morgan asked about Isaac, Rachel's face filled with sadness, and Morgan understood. He then went to where Emil had died. Besides the zombified head, there was a key in a pool of blood. The object hanging from Emil's neck must have been important. Suddenly, a zombie approached. Morgan drew his weapon, but then he saw Emil's axe and swapped the stick for it. From that day on, the compassionate Morgan was gone. He had to shoulder the responsibility and change his ways. Unrestrained kindness wouldn't achieve great things. An armored truck drove down the road, blocked by zombies. The men check that there is no danger, and the boss, Virginia, walks out slowly. Virginia smiled at the squirming box labeled with Morgan's name, and she assumed that Emil had done his job. But her smile froze upon seeing Emil's head inside. Visibly scared, Virginia spoke into the walkie-talkie. "If you're listening, I thought my plans could only start with your death, but I don't need that now. I won't trouble you anymore, but you have to make your former teammates believe you're dead, or I'll make them join the ranks of the zombies." With that, Virginia turned to leave.
Morgan Jones is dead, and you were dealing with somebody else now.
The cold words sent chills down her spine. Meanwhile, Morgan, now clad in Emil's attire, watched them from a distance. The road ahead was destined to be tumultuous and bloody. The fear of becoming a prisoner in a post-apocalyptic world was palpable. The guards distributed weapons to the prisoners, some of whom trembled with fear. As they knocked on the rolling door, a fierce response from zombies inside echoed back. Their task was to clear out the zombies behind the door. Prisoner number 41, terrified, turned to run away. He was naturally timid and had never killed a zombie before. Hearing the guard cocking his gun, he knew he had no choice but to tremblingly pick up his weapon again. The guards reminded them to aim for the zombies' heads and to avoid close contact at all costs. Under the man's command, they advanced cautiously, unsure if they would survive. One prisoner was responsible for the rolling doors mechanism. When the door opened, a syrup-like liquid first appeared. Even prepared, the sight of so many zombies' feet unnerved them. But at that moment, the door was stuck. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pull it open. Soon, zombies crawled out from underneath. The guards hurriedly ordered them to push the zombies back and close the door again, but it was too late. The prisoner handling the door was grabbed by a zombie. Several people with weapons also rushed forward to participate in killing zombies. Inexperienced people were directly dragged in by zombies. Number 41, paralyzed with fear, stood frozen. Seeing him petrified, the guard went to lower the door himself, only to be grabbed by a woman who had just been dragged in. She screamed for help. The man, devoid of emotion, pulled out his pistol and ended her suffering. But then, his own foot was grabbed, and he was dragged in too. As the door finally started to close, the floor was too slippery for him to find a foothold, and he screamed in terror. 41 didn't choose to stand by and watch this time. He tried to pull the man out, but the man pleaded with 41 to kill him. The man didn't even manage to kill himself. Ironically, the one who survived was the most cowardly. Number 41, this was one of the cruelest scenes in Virginia's community. Meanwhile, Victor and Alicia, who had also arrived at the community, were faring no better. They were relegated to the lowest tier, assigned to clean latrines. An armored truck approached from a distance and stopped in front of them. The driver, a writer named Marcus, intentionally troubled Victor and Alicia. In this community, writers held a high status and could not be offended, but the defiant Victor didn't care. He not only spouted insults but also dumped a bucket of waste near Marcus's feet. Marcus pointed his gun directly at Victor. Luckily, a girl resembling Virginia intervened, defusing the situation and speaking up for Alicia and Victor. However, their act of provoking a writer was a severe offense, leading them to be brought before Virginia for judgment. Alicia, handcuffed, saw the girl from earlier and thanked her for speaking up for them. The girl, bright and seemingly fond of Alicia and Victor, introduced herself as Dakota. In another room, Virginia was giving orders while getting her hair trimmed. She commanded her subordinates to dispatch a group of riders westward to find Morgan. Daniel was diligently trimming Virginia's hair, showing no reaction to her orders. When Victor and Alicia entered, they were stunned to see Daniel there. Despite Victor's calls, Daniel just focused on cutting hair. Sitting down, Alicia, ignoring Virginia, asked Daniel if he was okay, but Daniel says, "Have I ever cut your hair before?" Daniel, forgetting Alicia, said he didn't want to cause trouble, which wasn't like the Daniel they knew. Virginia explained that they hadn't done anything wrong. Daniel had just had a conflict over his cat. Observing Daniel's head wound, it seemed he might indeed have amnesia. Without his hair-cutting skills, he probably would have been killed. Virginia then blamed Victor for disrespecting a writer in broad daylight, necessitating punishment. She took out Alicia's weapon and said she would send them to a place where they could be useful. After Virginia left with her man, Victor, assured they were alone, urged Daniel to stop pretending. Victor knew Daniel's tough character and couldn't believe he would willingly cut hair for an enemy, but Daniel still said, "I don't know what you're talking about." It looks like Daniel really lost his memory. Soon, Victor and Alicia were transported away from the community in an armored vehicle, ending up at a dock where many zombies were contained. Seeing the door's agitation, they realized their assigned task. Alicia asked what was inside, and Hill replied that they'd find out once they cleaned it up. Virginia was creating a future, and whatever was inside was key to its completion. Hill warned that anyone attempting to escape would be shot on sight. These were all people who had disobeyed in the community. Victor questioned why they didn't just use the armored vehicle to quickly clear the area. Hill explained that Virginia didn't want to damage what was inside and hoped to find them alive on his return. Unexpectedly, they encountered Charlie, who revealed they had been sent there after 2 failed escape attempts. Janice also appeared, another troublemaker. The reunion of familiar faces brought some comfort as they could trust their former teammates. Victor learned from Janice about the situation, 9 riders overseeing, and only a few prisoners trustworthy. Victor suggested they not clear the zombies but eliminate all the riders and escape. He was tired of cleaning latrines. Of course, this was just a thought. Victor still had to change into work clothes and continue with menial tasks.